Yeah, right. All right, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right, Cheryl, call the roll, please.
Joe Burden. Here. Dennis Gagnon.
Here.
Peter Lewis is not here. Laura O'Connell, not here. Neil Toman.
Here.
Heidi Wendell. Here. Neil Zuckerman.
Here. All right, welcome everyone to the May board meeting of the Philipstown Planning Board. Obviously there's something in the water. You're all out here tonight for some reason. It must be for the Paul Hemus application. Lots of voices here to opine.
Big controversy.
Okay, that's not what you're here for. Hopefully not everyone's here again for the Bach. Yeah. All right, thank you. All right, let's approval of the April minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as sent by Cheryl?
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second it.
Edits, deletions, corrections. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Minutes are adopted. Any correspondence to cover? No? All right, let's cover the Bach Veterinary Hospital. Ron, what do we need to do at this point?
Yeah, you've done all required administrative matters. It's now at a point where you can adopt a secret declaration and then consider an approval resolution for the project.
Okay, these have been shared. Okay, we have a secret declaration, neg deck. Can I have a motion to approve the neg deck for the Bach Veterinary Hospital, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Neil. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Heidi. Any comments on the neg deck? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Secret declaration is approved. Okay, and then the site plan approval itself. Motion? Thank you, Heidi. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Neil. Any comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention. Motion passes. Congratulations, Dr. Bach. You are in business. Again, I'm going to even sign it right now. Steve, is green ink okay? It seems to be what I have in my hand.
There's no prohibition on green ink.
Okay, well then you know what, Dr. Bach, you get a green signature. All right, all right, that is the, wish you the best. All right, next, stepping stones. Ron.
I think the applicant's representative is here to present the latest revised plans that he can review with you.
Danes to Coast Engineering. We're here tonight for the Stepping Stones application. We've been in front of the board a couple of months now describing the project. Again, to refresh the board, it's a 2,256 square foot addition, separate building next to the existing building. It's going to support an expanded daycare. We have 40 students right now and 9 staff. We'd like to take that and go to 60 students total and 13 staff. With that, there will be no modification of the parking lot, probably just some minor restriping. I think the biggest thing that we talked about at the last meeting was some public hearing comment from the neighbors next door. The new building will be located slightly closer to the residential portion of the property behind us. And with that, we're going to be taking down an existing playground that the kids use right now. The building will be going in a majority of that footprint, and then at a future date, undetermined right now, we'll be expanding a new playground in back of the new proposed building. The reason why I say it's possible future playground is just because funding right now, they're on a budget, and we know prices have increased substantially on the building end lately. So they wanted to have the option of labeling that possible future addition. With that being said, we talked about the wooded buffer requirement between this commercial piece and the residential piece behind. There's supposed to be a 20-foot naturally vegetated buffer. There are sections within that buffer that do not have adequate buffering, screening, trees. There's some trees that are going to be removed and replaced. In addition to that, we're going to place a row of trees around that buffer. There'll be 20 trees in total. And being sensitive to the neighbor behind us, based upon the last meeting, we're going to add additional 7 trees staggered and offset to that to that wooded buffer, and they'll be inside toward our property to try to give some noise mitigation and screening from the playground area and the new building toward his property. In addition to that, the new playground that we're proposing, again, future, undetermined right now when it goes in, we're going to do a semi-private fence. It's not a full PVC solid fence. The applicant wanted to have some level of sight through the fence. So instead of doing like a large picket, like 4-inch gap space in the fencing, we tightened it up. It's called a semi-privacy fence. So there's probably about a 3/4 inch gap, and then like a 4-inch panel, and then a 3/4 inch gap. So there is a little bit of movement and air through that. It has the same feel of being a solid fence, but there'd be some light coming through so that the kids could, obviously peek through and not be so, let's say, confined. So we were hoping tonight that addition to the plan, and between the screening, the offset in trees, the second row of trees that we had, and the 6-foot fence with that semi-privacy component to it would be amendable to the resident behind us and to the board. I do have a little bit of a cut sheet here we could send around. I know the detail on the plan was a little small. We'll increase the legibility of that detail in the future submission, but I think from a planning board perspective at the last meeting, that was really the big item that we hit. Other than that, there's some plan details that were technical in nature that we'll work with the town engineer. Probably one of the bigger ones is we submitted an updated SWIP that has some calculations behind it based upon the soil testing that we've done. It's just kind of dotting the I's, crossing the T's kind of thing. So we'll just open it up to the board and see if they have any comments or questions.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think you answered the question, but I was just wondering if there's additional information. On your sheet 2, you do call out proposed evergreen screening and really just point to a very generic symbol going through there. You just mentioned now, excuse me, you're planning on doing 20 trees and then an additional 7. Is there a layout of where those trees are proposed to go and other information regarding heights, caliber of the trees?
So if you go on to sheet 1, they're shown a little bit light on sheet 1. It's going to be on the proposed conditions plan.
I did not dissect the plan, so I didn't notice.
Yeah, if you go to sheet 1 under proposed conditions plan, you can see them, they're kind of light through here.
Kind of light? Yeah. Yeah. I missed those.
And I think we did a 3-inch caliber at breast height and, an average 6 foot tall. And that would be on sheet 3, upper left.
Okay, thank you. It tends to be darkened in a little bit.
Thank you. Other board members' questions? Anyone? No? Ron, comments?
Yeah, could you please walk through the changes you've made to the plan so the board fully understands where the building's been moved to, and also identify where this future playground may be?
Right. Yes.
Can you, and maybe we can, Celia, can we raise the volume on this mic? Because it's a little hard to hear with the window.
Can you hear me now? All right, that's
Can
better.
someone turn off their phone that's ringing?
All right.
There's a little switch on the side. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep it going. Long night tonight.
I'm just going to mark these up. I'm going to darken them up so you can see them. Okay. These X's here that we have alongside, those 20 trees that we talked about. That will be mixed in with there's a couple of trees that are in good shape right now that we're going to maintain. But we're going to start from basically the parking lot area. We're going to come almost to the corner of the existing building. There's 2 trees right here that are going to remain, that are in good shape. And then we're going to continue that planting along the back side of the property line. We have 1 existing tree that's in good shape. We're going to add 1 more in between these 2 trees. And then as we work our way all the way around the rear of the property toward the septic system, there'll be a set of trees here. Where we added that second row of trees, is right in front of it, staggered and offset. Right here, and this X, that's the new building. This is the existing building. And then if you look here, when I talk about the future possible playground area, it's going to be located behind the building and off to the side. That was one of the major changes that we made based upon the public hearing comment. I think everything else was just detail related within the detail sections of the report.
Okay. Other questions? Heidi, please.
Are you putting in native trees? Are the new trees going to be native trees? Oh, great.
Okay. Other board members' questions? Nope. No? Ron, anything? Oh, geez, sorry. The gain is a little high on that. Ron, anything else in this one?
I think the plan revisions came about from the comments offered at the public hearing. A significant one from the adjoining property owner was the issue of providing a solid fence around the playground area. The applicant's now proposing a semi-solid, some gaps in the fencing itself. And I just wonder if the board has any opinion as to whether that satisfies what you think is desired by the adjoiner.
Yeah, it's a question here, because the plan is not fundamentally changed. There have been additions. Is there any need at this point, Steve, for the public to weigh in again?
No, I don't think so. We held a public hearing in March. You took comments from the public fairly extensively. You closed the public hearing. You know what those comments were. You have the board and the engineer are satisfied that those comments have been adequately addressed. I think you're ready to move forward with an approval resolution. If there's more changes that you want, well, then you're going to have to send them back for more changes.
Comments, board, straw poll here? Are we ready to move forward with approval resolution on this business? Heidi, yeah?
Yes.
Joe, good? All right, so can I have a motion to, do we have a neg deck also we need to have prepared as well?
No, you deemed it a type 2 action at the very beginning.
All right, so let me have a motion then to direct Ron to prepare approval resolutions for our next meeting, please. Thank you, Heidi. Second, Dennis. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Okay, so we'll sign this at the next and vote on it in the next meeting, okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to change our order. We're going to cover Paul Hemus and his proposal for a family home for the next generation. Yeah, take the stand before, but one comment I just want to make. So, look, out there are two sign-in sheets. One for Hudson Highlands Reserve and one for Shakespeare. If you would like to speak, please put your name on that. Related to Hudson Highlands Reserve, we will take those who did not speak last time. If you already spoke, the burden on you saying something new is high. Real new things. The gentleman knows who I'm looking at. So if you want to speak again, you have to say something different. We don't need you to say the same thing again, okay? Because we got a lot of people in this room and a lot of time, and we've already heard everyone last time. We have good hearing, and we've all, as you see, have good recording systems. So please go fill out, put your name on the back if you'd like to speak, and then we'll do that when we come in. Charlie.
You want to read your notes, Ron? Or you want me to read them?
Why don't you just,
Do you have
say a few words, Charlie?
I got one vacant lot left. I'd like to put a house up for my daughter.
Okay.
The project falls in the SPO, requires the planning board take a look at it. And I'm just here for the first meeting to see if you guys want to schedule a site visit or whatever you guys.
Do you want to tell us a bit about it, or do you want Ron? Why don't you just do it, Ron? I think
Ron, I
Charlie is asking you to basically do it.
I can read Ron's notes today, but
Okay.
Go ahead, Ron.
It's a residential property on Manitou Station Road. The proposed residence on this currently vacant parcel is in excess of 3,000 square feet, and so they require site plan approval from this board. It's in the SPO, as has been mentioned. So there's a few things statutorily that you'll want to do tonight. One is just to declare the project as a minor project, which is done for residential activities. Second issue would be to make a referral to Putnam County Department of Planning, since it's within 500 feet of Route 9D. And the third item would be to declare it a Type 2 seeker action, since again it's a residential project. those things. Okay. Yeah, so the referral should be to county planning and also a referral to the local fire department.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell us about? I mean, I read the note. You want to build a, what's the size of the house?
7 square feet.
Charlie, you want to walk through the basics of the project, just like size of it and?
It's 2,400 square feet of living space, but it has a 3-car attached garage. It's 4-bedroom, single story. So it's long. It takes up more footprint in it. And it's going to be, I don't know if you have the site plan in front of you, but I could pull one out if you want.
They've got it.
They've got it. It's, the site plan's been prepared.
Okay.
There's,
That's the house.
you've got the house?
Charlie, usually, if you hire Glenn, he'll have a nice board for you. He'll walk it through.
I figured-
Wouldn't that be that expensive? Would have been nice, a little just narrative around. Okay.
He already was dogging me about not having him here.
Yeah, you could. He's right there. You could hire him right now. He could probably do it for you. Do a great job.
I'm trying to save his voice. I figured he doesn't need,
All right, enough fun. All right, so questions about this? I mean, I'm sure we're gonna have some. We're gonna do a site visit, of course.
that's all I'm really.
Questions? Anything? Take a look. Anything?
What's the color of the siding?
Excuse me?
The siding?
I haven't decided whether it's probably gonna be a hardy product or something. We have earth tone colors. It's long, so I'll probably break it up with some different, so it doesn't look,
When we do the site visit, can you stake it out, please?
Yeah.
It just helps us vision it. All right, let's go through the administrivia. Can I have a motion to approve, to declare this a minor project, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Dennis. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. May I have a motion to declare this a type 2 secret action? Thank you, Neil. Second? Dennis. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Thank you. Referral to the fire department, please. Neil, Dennis. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions. And finally, referral to the Putnam County Department of Planning. Neil, Dennis. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions. All right, let's schedule the site visit.
Okay, June 4th or the 11th?
Okay, folks, calendars. Charlie, 4th or 11th?
are those Saturdays or Sundays?
These are Sundays at 9:30 a.m.
That's perfect.
Which, 4th or 11th?
Either one. You tell me. The 4th is fine.
4th? 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 Ron?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Okay, put it in my calendar. 4th, sorry, June
There
4th.
is no real address there yet, so if you want to, if you can find it on the map, it's just below my
I'm
house.
sure we'll figure
There's
it
no 911 number yet, because it's been,
Okay, all right. All right, site visit, Paul Hemus.
You flag the driveway or something.
yeah.
Would you also be willing to put markers around the trees you're gonna cut down?
It's been a horse pasture forever, so it's 2.4
Yeah.
acres of a field.
Okay, sorry, I feel like I'm having to be like a librarian here, but there's a big room here and we've got business we're trying to do. All right, anything else for Charlie? See you June 4th, please, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, let's move into our 2 public hearings, which is why most people are here this evening. We'll start with Hudson Highlands Reserve. Do you have the
No.
sign-in sheet? So let's wait to get the sign-in sheet. Glenn, why don't you get started and say whatever you want to say, and then we'll move into the public hearing.
Short thing to say, but first thing I want to do is hand up some, I want to hand up some mailing cards.
Okay.
We mailed out 75 certified mail notices of tonight's meeting. 21 were returned. We're handing you up the list and the receipts.
Sorry, this is of what mailing?
This is a mailing of the notice of this public hearing due to the question about whether or not people got
Yeah. Yeah,
their copies last time.
yeah, fair.
We had compiled a list of the owners.
What you sent?
I sent, but then they sent them again.
Oh, you sent a separate mailing. You said.
This, I think, is the only mailing that went out on this
Oh,
one. But what
You're
we
saying
did-
you made another one for this session, not the original one, Cheryl, you're talking. Okay,
Right.
fine.
I
I know
made-
there's a foil you did or something.
Another whole one, as I said, they were sent certified. We got 21 of the 75 that were sent out, came back. We had compiled a list, Cheryl compiled a list, we compared them. I think there was a difference of 2. We just took the 2 and put them into the list so that we had to double check on who it was sent to. And finally, not quite finally, we sent out non-certified copies to the same list of people, and we got from the post office a certificate of mailing that they were actually posted on the same day. And finally, today I went out, or I'm sorry, I didn't. Today our office went out, one of the people in our office went out and took photographs of the public hearing notice, which was posted on the placard in front of the project, as it's still standing as of today. And after you reset the meeting, within the 3-day period, we had posted them and given Cheryl copies.
Okay, but I assume you're saying this because we continued this hearing to this meeting today. Okay, I'll get to that when we get to the public hearing. But I hear your point.
Yeah, I'm saying that because there was a question as to
Yes.
whether or not it was properly noticed, and we re-noticed it.
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
and thank you for that effort.
Okay, I do have an apology to make to the board and to the public. Last month, I misspoke. I said, in the answer to a person's question, that the only access to the property from East Mountain Road North was the entry construction entry at the beginning of the project. I was wrong. There is no entry for the construction vehicles. They will go in behind the commercial building that's part of this subdivision and up a construction path that Mr. Lyons had constructed some time ago. So there'll be no construction vehicles on East Mountain Road North. I misspoke. I even misspoke again today when I talked to Ron about it. I was just wrong, and it did cause some kerfluffle here, favorite word of my wife, and I apologize for that. But there is some action at that road. That road will remain as a emergency entrance, and there was some concern about that emergency entrance and people not even wanting the emergency entrance. You should note that in the, I'm not sure which of the 4 documents, but in the EIS, those access points will be gated with what's called a Knox box, which is basically a small security safe with the key to the lock inside of it, and the key that opens the security box is held by the fire company. So it would only be used for true emergency purposes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. All right, we're going to kick off this public hearing with 2 things. One, I just want to make a brief comment on procedure, and then Cheryl's going to read the notice and we'll go through the names. So, just to be clear, Cheryl's a pretty talented professional. We've been very pleased with her leadership here for a long time. It's obvious that every mailing was mailed that was legally required. So we carried this hearing over because there was some commentary at the last meeting that people did not receive. Well, U.S. Postal Service has been pretty good since Ben Franklin, and I think you made pretty good use of it. So if people did not receive it, there's something that has not happened here at Philipstown. So it was an exception I made in the moment of people saying they didn't receive it. That will probably not happen again because the procedures were followed and mailings were made. So I just want to be very clear that if you got multiple addresses, check all your mailboxes or whatever you have as your source because the mail did go out for the noticing. Let me just talk about process. We're going to do 3 minutes each. 3 minutes each to speak. Again, if you already spoke last time, this is not the meeting for you. This is the meeting for those who did not get to speak. If there's any question, and by the way, stay on point here. We have already approved secret years ago. We've been at this for many, many years. This is not a new hearing. This is not the first time we've all met and talked about this, so please be mindful that this board, and I think Neil and I have been there since the beginning. The rest are relatively...
8 years.
8 years? Is it 8 years, Ulysses? 8 years. So we've been at this a while. I think this has gotten some fairly good attention. I'm pretty confident there's nothing you're going to tell us tonight we haven't heard you tell us before that has not been severely considered by all of us and the legal team as well as our advisors. So you can say whatever you want. We're more than welcome to listen. If you've got something new, I will be thrilled to hear something new for a change. Cheryl, read the notice and we'll go in order, please.
The Planning Board of the Town of Philipstown, New York will hold a continuation of the public hearing on Thursday, May 18th, 2023, starting at 7:30 p.m. at the Philipstown Town Hall, 238 Main Street, Cold Spring, New York, to consider the following application. Hudson Highland Reserve Conservation Subdivision, Route 9 and Horton Road, Cold Spring, New York. The applicant, Horton Road LLC, is seeking Planning Board approval of a conservation subdivision proposed on 210 acres east of Route 9 between Horton Road and East Mountain Road North. The proposal involves 24 residential lots, each approximately 1 acre, to be served by individual wells and community wastewater treatment facilities. Primary access would be from a new non-gated access road off of Route 9. Approximately 163 acres are proposed to be preserved as permanent open space through a conservation easement. Dated at Philipstown, New York, this 20th day of April, 2023. Neil Zuckerman, Chair.
All right, great. All right, Cheryl, you want to read the first name that's going to come up and then who's on deck behind him or her?
The first name is Richard Nairn, and the second one, I'm having trouble reading it, but it looks like 33 Ridge Brook, maybe Hernan?
Can't read it. Powerman, resident, 33 something
Brook.
Hook, Brooks, Cold Spring.
Richard?
Yes,
Let's just go. We'll keep up. After you, sir. 3 minutes.
I'm Richard Nairn. I'm a 35-year resident on Horton Road, and I do have a few concerns about this project, mainly stormwater runoff. I know we've been through this a couple different times, but I'm just not real quite sure on exactly how the water's going to be handled, especially in the event of a hurricane or anything of that magnitude. We get a lot of water coming off of that mountain on the backside of this project, and I mean a lot of water. I saw one of the hurricanes several years ago basically took out the whole back of Horton Road. There was nothing left of it. That's how much water comes off of that mountain. Especially with the Clove Creek corridor, I do want to remind this board that Clove Creek is a protected creek here in New York State. That being said, we need to take every precautionary measure when it comes to the stormwater runoff and the potential of it affecting Clove Creek. It's very major. I don't think half the people in this room really realize the amount of water that can come off of that mountain when we have bad storms. But anyway, that is certainly my main concern. I also had another concern. There was talk about the use of Horton Road for construction, and I don't know, I guess that's off the table now, or Glenn?
That's correct.
Okay, that's wonderful. Horton Road would be a bad idea for an access. 2/3 of Horton Road is certainly a single-lane road, a lot of hairpin turns, no sight whatsoever, very dangerous road. So glad to hear that that's been taken off the table. Other than that, also glad to hear that the project has been downsized considerably, not having the horse paddock and all that. It's still going to be a major disturbance to that property up there. There's no question about it. Other than that, I guess that's basically about it. I hope this board is really going to take the time to really scrutinize the stormwater runoff coming off of this potential project here. It's going to be an issue. There's no question about it. That's about it. I also want to thank the board for having these extended hearings. I think it's important for the community, and it's also important for people like myself who missed the last couple due to business. So thank you very much for that. Other than that, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dan Wilson, followed by Max Myers.
Good evening, and thank you, Commission, for holding this public hearing. Some of us couldn't make it last time, so we're grateful for the opportunity to let you know how we feel about this. My name is Dan Wilson. I'm a resident and a voter here in Philipstown, and I'm speaking in opposition to this project. I do so because it's out of character for our neighborhood, our community, and our town. This is a small town, a rural environment, and many of us choose to live here for the natural beauty, the wildlife, and the scenery. I think we can all agree it's a special place and we want it to stay that way. That's not to say that we're, opposed to change. Change can be good, but this kind of change means more traffic, more congestion, more pollution, and less habitat for wildlife. This isn't a suburb. We don't want McMansions, and we don't need subdivisions, conservation or otherwise. Philipstown is not a place for subdivisions and sprawl. And it's not just me. If anything has been made abundantly clear through this process, it's the community is strongly opposed to this. We are united, but I'm concerned that we're not being heard. I'm hopeful that you're aware that all of the residents, or most of the residents, are opposed to this project. I'm concerned because we've filled these rooms, we've written letters, we've signed petitions, we've made our objections clear over and over again. Only a few people I've heard have spoken in favor of this development, and they are the developer and the people he pays. Yet despite this overwhelming opposition in our community, the town board has at times echoed the developers' arguments, talking points, and parroted their so-called concessions. The town board approved an alternate roadway standard, allowing the developer to bypass the maximum grade permitted and build a roadway that's steeper than the limits allow. In another instance, all but one board member voted to modify the zoning on behalf of the developer so they could build even more homes. And this giant subdivision hasn't even been approved, and they've taken these positions long before this public hearing. So it begs the question that, have minds been already made up? The town board has never missed an opportunity also to promote the scare tactics, that changing the zoning and the residential to residential will prevent industry from building near Clove Creek. If we don't allow them to build a road, it will, be East Mountain Road North. If we don't change the zoning, they'll put in a soil mine.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Max Myers, followed by Madeline McGinley.
Hi there. My name's Max. I'm a brand new resident of Philipstown and a voter. I'm really glad that Dan, where are you? There you are, spoke before me. I should be clear, I'm not familiar with what comments were made at the previous hearing, so apologies if there's some overlap. As I mentioned, a brand new resident off of East Mountain Road North. This issue is very new to me. I've been trying to gather as much information from all of you that has been shared over the past several days. I've been trying to catch up and learn as much as I can. I'm not going to try to speak about specifics of the project. Similar to what Dan was speaking to, I want to speak about the people like me who look at this place, Philipstown and the surrounding areas, as it represents a hopeful future. I know that sounds corny, but there are a lot of people in my generation who are suffering and looking for a place to build a peaceful home for themselves and build a future for themselves. I have a lot of peers who, since my partner and I moved here, have been looking at us and saying, wow, we want to do that too. It's such a wonderful place. There's so much natural beauty. It's so peaceful. And that is the larger understanding of this area for people that don't live here. I know obviously this is a local government hearing. Everyone here is very familiar with this area. People who look at this area from afar, it's held up as a very special place, a very valuable place. And even the people who don't live here cherish it and want to keep it as a place where wildlife are not threatened, where there's clean drinking water. I'm assuming one of the issues that was brought up previously is the potential disintegration of the sewage systems in these new homes, and how that would affect the aquifer. I'm assuming that has been mentioned before. Anyone can speak to that?
I think let's keep going with the remarks.
Understood.
You had 8 years to catch up on, so.
Yeah, is that an issue?
No, there's a lot of issues that we've covered over 8 years. Please
Absolutely.
continue, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, as I mentioned.
I know, I heard. Thanks, Russ. We'll get, you already spoke last time.
No, Neil, I just don't understand why you feel the need to like antagonize me.
I'm
while I
not. I'm
speak.
just telling you, we've been at this a long time.
Great.
You're asking the audience to give you information. I'm saying please
Great.
continue your remarks.
Okay, understood. Dennis, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I don't think the intent here is to have a back and forth discussion where you just want to listen to what you have to say.
Understood. Thank you for telling me that. Yeah, this is entirely new for me. I'm just trying to express my feelings on a new issue. I intend to be a resident of this area for a very long time. I understand that's the end of my time. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Madeline, followed by Melissa Beck.
My name is Madeline McGinley. I have lived at 534 East Mountain Road for the past 20 years. My questions focus specifically on access to the development. What is the status of the DOT approval for the main entrance from the development onto Route 9? The applicant has had many years to obtain it. Without this crucial piece established, how could the planning board responsibly vote on approving the project? We simply cannot presume approval from the DOT. We need to know where the application is in the 3 stages of DOT approval. By now, the project would have had an initial DOT review, done at the same time as the SEQA review, have gotten feedback, and we would have moved into the design and final submission review. So where are we? And what happens if the project doesn't get DOT approval? At one planning board session, one member went so far as to say that without the Route 9 access approved, the project is a non-starter. And the rest of the board seemed to concur. Does that suggest that the planning board would make Route 9 access a contingency for subdivision approval? My second question is about sanitation. But as you can see, much hinges on the DOT approval. And if you approve without it, and they don't get it, it will be too late. Sanitation. Has the Board of Health reviewed the proposed large communal septic system? Requiring diligent maintenance. If the system fails, what measures will be taken to protect Clove Creek? I understand that the Board of Health approval comes later in the process, but how could the Planning Board responsibly vote on this project without more information as to the feasibility of the septic system? Trees. All one has to do is drive up Route 9 to the Philipstown Fishkill border to witness the devastation due to the recent proliferation of clear cutting of trees on both sides. We need to prevent making a barren landscape even worse. The planning board should require a significant tree buffer around this project to be part of the site plan and not allow any clear cutting. In summary, I would urge the planning board to postpone voting on this project until the following conditions are met: DOT approval, Board of Health review, and revisions made to the site plan with exclusion of East Mountain Road North as primary access, written in the plat, not just spoken in our meetings, and inclusion of a tree buffer. This is an important project, and setting a precedence for any future developments in Philipstown will be this board's legacy. Thank you.
Melissa, followed by Dennis West.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Beck, and I've been a resident at I'm giving you Madeline's address, 478 East Mountain Road North for 18 years. I have not participated in these hearings, and I came here tonight because I'm appalled by the process that is going on, and quite frankly, I'm appalled by the tone that's in place this evening. I don't think it reflects our community well. I have 3 points to make. The first is to echo what Madeline just articulated. We really cannot have a vote on this without the DOT and the Board of Health weighing in on these really critical issues. The second reason to delay a vote here is our already overstressed volunteer EMT and firefighting programs here in Philipstown. It is really outrageous that we are contemplating 24 additional homes in the wake of climate change that is creating floods, fires, and more across the globe, including here in Cold Spring. How is our firefighters and our EMTs supposed to serve these new 24 families? It defies understanding and common sense to expand our community by this much without an effective first responder program, which we have inadequately invested in. And finally, I would speak to the school, which really doesn't have the wherewithal to accept many more students, presumably at least, let's say, 2 per home. I think that the comment made at a previous hearing that people would send their children to private school is offensive at best, scurrilous at worst, and quite frankly, Haldane is an exceptional school, having pulled my children from private school to send them there. I speak with great knowledge of that. I thank you for your time and listening to me.
Dennis West.
Dennis.
It's just quick.
Doesn't matter.
Followed by Bob Winkler.
Again, my name is Dennis West, and I live on East Mountain Road North. My dissatisfaction with this project has already been reflected by a number of my neighbors, and I totally agree with what they have to say. I moved up here 5 years ago. I'm retired, and I had a very stressful job, and I came up here to relax and just enjoy the rest of my life. And with this, I have a feeling that it's not going to be as sublime as it should be. Thank you.
Okay.
Bob Winkler, followed by Craig.
Yeah, Bob Winkler. I've lived on East Mountain Road North for 20 years. And Madeline said most of it. Just with the Clove Creek runoff and the mountain runoff and the septic tank to protect our water is paramount. Board of Health approval. I work in sewage treatment, New York City DEP, and I know the importance of it. And just want the water to be clean.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Followed by John Clark.
Hi, Craig Mashesky. I live at the adjacent property that basically where the road would come out. That is all of my property there. Currently sitting at my house, I can see all of Route 9 from the Happy Liquor Store all the way to East Mountain Road North. The traffic at this point is horrific. Pulling out each morning, you feel like you take your life slightly in your own hands. People from East Mountain are trying to dodge cars that are racing south. People from my road are trying to cut across those cars to come the opposite way. As Madeline said, I can't begin to think a project like this, now that you've already approved Dane's Lumber on the same corner, where how many trucks will be coming and going every single day. You are waiting for a catastrophic accident to be happening there. Not to mention how many subs contractors, people who will be working to build 24 homes. You are talking about hundreds upon hundreds of new people coming to this area, roofers, carpenters, floor people, tile people, you name it. That will be like Beirut right there. This gentleman who was slightly cut off over there said it so poignantly. This magical place feels like it's about to slip away on this type of project. Thank you.
John, followed by Damian McDonald.
Hi, my name is John Clark. I'm a 25-year resident of Horton Road. Basically, this project's in my backyard. And so I've been wandering this land for the last 25 years. So I dearly don't want to see this happen, but I understand that, he has a right to develop this property. It's the scale of it I object to. And I wrote a letter to this effect. I just want to read a little bit from it. And this has been said before. The development violates the spirit of the conservation easement law. The applicant is setting aside land that can't be developed, steep slopes and wetlands, in order to build more houses than the property is zoned for. And I started to think about that because does an applicant have the right to do a workaround? I mean, is that part of his property rights? And so I started to Google this stuff, and I came upon, from AI, artificial intelligence, so consider the source, but a quote about the Fifth Amendment and the Takings Clause. And it says here, in general, it is not considered a violation of a property owner's Fifth Amendment rights to prevent them from exploiting a poorly written law, so long as the government is acting within its power to regulate the use of private property in the interests of the public. So this is aside from the easement situation. Some people are saying that what they're doing is following the letter of the law, if not the spirit. And what I'm saying is they don't actually have the right to do that if it's in the public interest for you to curtail that. I also want to echo some comments made about the traffic situation. Not only Dane's Lumber, but that there's that the place up by the gas station? What's it called? Continental Commons. There's that development. I understand they're resurrecting the Duchess Mall for some trucking. Companion Animal Hospital is trying to expand. There's Dane's Lumber. I make left turns out of Horton Road all the time, and it is horrendous. And finally, I'd like to just say that basically we are Fishkillizing the Northern Highlands. I mean, that's essentially, we're bringing Fishkill south with this project. So I just want you to know that, and other developers are looking at this, and who knows how much farther south this will go. So I just want to make sure that you understand that that will be your legacy if you allow this to proceed. Thank you.
Damian, followed by Lauren.
Hi, Damian McDonald, 460 East Mountain North. Been up there for about 23 years. We built a house. A lot of other people built houses. But certainly having this much in this short a time all at once, one bolus of activity of all of this construction, is something you need to strongly consider. I think the developer is gaming the system. I think that, as I've been watching this unfold over how many years, when we make concessions from something really bad to just a little bit bad, and therefore look how good we are. No, I think that we rely as residents, we rely on all of you to keep our interests and the town's interests, in mind, And I'm really concerned about having this much development all at once. A lot of the other things have been taken off the table, East Mountain North, thank God. But still, access to 9 is problematic, and you're just going to just exacerbate that terribly. We spoke about water. When I moved up here, I didn't know the history of the land. Maybe somebody had DDT on the land, so my 700-foot well, I had a lot of testing done, and guess what? It came back pristine, incredibly, like 0 across the board, and that was for testing everything. When I look at this many homes, and I look at groomed lawns, I look at all the nitrates that are going to be thrown into that, I get really concerned about well water. So the other thing I will say is that you need to look at this as a precedent that you're setting for the town of Philipstown. There's a lot of other large properties that may come on the market, and you're going to have to live with this. We're all going to have to live with this. And again, we don't want this to be Fishkill. I don't know if there's a way you could throttle the development, as far as the number of homes per year or something like that. Certainly, there have been developments up in on East Mountain. I think Richard Shea was my closest neighbor when I first moved up there, and now we have a lot of other houses. But that's fine because they happen over time. So all of my other concerns have been articulated by my neighbors. So I thank you.
Lauren, followed by Susan Anspach.
Hi, I'm Lauren Normay. I live at 22 Esselborn Road. A lot of concerns have been addressed, I'm glad to hear that East Mountain Road North is not going to be an access point. I am concerned that I don't understand why Route 9 access has not been approved or whether there's been traffic studies done, and if no traffic studies after 8 years of planning, why not? So I'm also concerned that it's a conservation subdivision, and this will be a precedent for Philipstown and other communities in the area. Putnam County and other, it would set a precedent. I don't believe it's in the spirit of the law. I'm also a little bit concerned, which I haven't heard addressed, but I know that there's pressure for communities like ours to build more affordable housing from the state. And as we build these mega homes, mega mansions, there's going to be more pressure to why aren't we building affordable housing, which will increase, which for our community would have to be in the village in the density, and there's not the properties there. So I think that also has to be considered, that we would be facing state pressure to build dense housing. Okay, thank you.
Susan, followed by Brinny Holmes.
Hello, good evening. And I also thank you for holding this additional one of many, or at least several, public hearings on this issue. I just want to share, I think most of what I had planned to say has been said. I just want to share especially Madeline McKinley's remarks about Department of Health, Department of Transportation approval, and Board of Health approval. I also think the precedent being set by having this be a conservation easement subdivision and not a regular subdivision is one that you need to think about seriously because of future precedents that are being set. And I respectfully refer you to a May 16th letter I wrote with some additional comments that I won't go through here. Thank you.
Brenny, followed by Edgar Polhemus.
So my name is Franny Holmes, and I live on 35 Esselborn Road with my husband. We've been there for 15 years. I wouldn't have volunteered to speak up, but that's how strongly I feel about this. So I'll rely on Madeline and others who have really articulated, and the gentleman here, quite well my concerns, and I won't bring something new from that perspective. But the two concerns I do have, I want to share. The thought of preserve. My husband, their family, just outside of Philadelphia, there was something called the Preserve. It was a former SAP campus. And that preserve was beautiful nature for as far as I could see. And now it's all condominiums and fast food chains. And so forgive me if I doubt, despite the best intentions of the developers or you to say it will all work out fine, I don't trust that it's going to happen over time. And so I want to know, what are the protections, what are the studies, what are all the things that need to go in to make sure that what we are agreeing to or you're agreeing to is really what's going to happen over the course of time. The access to East Mountain Road North, I'm glad it's no longer an access, but it's still an emergency access. So what does that mean over time? Because you know that once you say yes to something, it's very easy for it to somehow slip and become something else later. And so I would want to feel comfortable, and I don't yet, that all the studies have been done and all the protections are in there, that, as my neighbors have said so eloquently, the beautiful homes that we have will remain that. And it's not that we don't want change, but we have animals coming through our backyards. We hear birds sing. You know, it's a different type of neighborhood than this other preserve we experienced, where it was just it's a Fishkill. I guess that's what you were saying. It's a whole different place to live. And so I guess ask that you look for the protections and do the studies, that what is being promised in terms of its best light is really what's going to happen. And if not, don't say yes. Thank you.
Mr. Polhemus?
I'm Edgar Polhemus, and I received a letter some 4 or 5 years ago from the Philipstown Planning Board saying that they were doing a survey on this project. And they asked me for my opinion and what I thought about it. So I filled it out and I sent it back in. I voted for it. I thought it was a good project. It was going to bring money to the town with new residents, to support the town, people to vote in the town. Now, I don't know if you folks know about this survey or not. I've ever heard of it. But that's what brought me up here tonight.
When was that survey?
About 4 or 5 years ago.
I don't think we would have sent, we would never, we don't send surveys, sir.
But I got it.
Okay, well, you want to tell us more about what you said in the answer, or?
Well, I think everything has been covered here. Okay?
Thank you.
I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay, all right. So we have one name we can't decipher it. It says 33 something Brook Cold Spring. That may be Edgar Paul. Is it?
No, he's...
All right, anyway, there are, we...
Okay.
Okay, so now we have people who spoke last time. If you'd like to speak again, please something different. We already have recorded what you've said, so we have Russ, do you want to speak again? Sure. Okay, come on up.
Richard.
And then followed by Richard Batensky.
I would like to begin by thanking you volunteers. You guys do great work on the behalf of us Philipstown residents. It doesn't go unnoticed. We do appreciate you. Thank you for that. I also want to acknowledge this beautiful space because the last public hearing was the first time I've been in here, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, they did a great job on this renovation. I think that you cannot overstate how important precedent is. And if this project, which has an overwhelming opposition by residents, Horton Road, East Mountain Road South, North, Esselborn, it's overwhelming. We don't want this. We want our aquifer, Clove Creek Aquifer, protected. Because we all count on well water for drinking and for bathing in. So that cannot be overstated how important protecting our water is. And as far as the precedent, for something that has this much opposition, that is this egregious, for this board to
greenlight this project, you're setting a precedent that once it's done, it will be very, 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 very difficult not to do it for the next applicant, if not impossible legally. So thank you very much.
Richard, followed by Tyler Isaacson.
I'll respect your request,
Okay.
but
Well, do you want to speak or not?
Well, I want the question that we
Well,
asked
just go ahead. You want to speak?
I asked a question last week
Right.
about the horse stuff, if that could end up being added back into the project once it's been approved. In other words, is that a legal use for preserved land? Because I think they can do recreational purposes, agricultural purposes. Could they then, without going, just as a matter of right, be able to add the horse thing back in or some form of it later on? I believe I asked that last time. So I would like an answer to that. And that's other things I will let go.
Okay. All right. Tyler, followed by Alice.
Good evening. I'm Tyler Isaacson. I live on Esselborn Road. Thinking about this as a conservation subdivision, I know all of us members of the community are very concerned about conserving our natural environment here, and I would hope that the applicant is as well. It seems like the holder of the conservation easement is incredibly crucial in that regard for this project. So I would ask that the town require that the holder be a legitimate third-party organization who is qualified to hold this easement, a nonprofit most likely, certainly not the town of Philipstown, which I understand is an option. I would ask that the board require that entity to be in place in an agreement with the applicant before any approval of the plan is made. I would think that the applicant would desire this as well if their interests are in conserving the environment. And then I would furthermore like to hear it, certainly glad to hear that East Mountain Road North is not a construction entrance any longer, but I would like to hear it maybe in writing that there will be no changes to that access road other than the addition of this gate, if that's true. Thank you.
Alice, followed by Bettina.
I spoke last time. I'm only here tonight to read a letter from someone who can't be here. My name is Bonnie Sue Stein, and I am located at the home of Roy Rosenstein at 719 East Mountain Road South. My concern is like many of our neighbors on East Mountain Road South and East Mountain Road North, and we have expressed our concerns for nearly 10 years, during which this proposal has shown no reason to me for fruition. In fact, it is shocking that this proposed conservation subdivision is still being considered because it is not environmentally sound, clearly noted by the numerous notices, letters, and testimonies by Hudson Highland Land Trust and others. Using the term conservation, I feel, is totally misguided, as no viable conservation organization has ever agreed to that description of the plan. As a seasoned gardener, a member of organizations that preserve both land and landmark buildings, I see this project as more damaging than the team who proposes it will admit. Past development of facilities may appear in architectural magazines, but this does not confirm in any way that the proposed 24-house subdivision is viable. I strongly oppose this project and hope that the board will finally decide to stop it. That's a letter from Bonnie Sue Stein of East Mountain Road South. Thanks very much.
Okay, Bettina, followed finally by Paul Zapola. You don't want to say? Okay, fine. Paul, do you want to speak? All right.
Okay, yeah. Hello. My name is Paul Sapula. I'm Richard Sapula's son. I live at 64 East Mountain Road North. I was going to pass on speaking because I spoke last time, but then the project representative mentioned the emergency access road. I'd ask you to consider what would happen if the main road to this project was rendered inoperable, and then the whole community at the project had to then rely on the emergency exit for an indeterminate amount of time. then please consider if there was an actual emergency at the project and an emergency on East Mountain Road at the same time. It could happen, especially during storms, and it could be a catastrophe. If this project moves forward at all, I strongly request that the project builds an exclusive emergency access road to Route 9. And I'll close with saying my father, Richard, was very upset with this development, and I'm confident he'd want it blocked in its entirety. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, closing this hearing, going once. Any more speakers? Going once? Ma'am, okay, come on up.
Constancia Romilly. I live on the mountain, Rocky Brook Road. I agree with all the objections that have been made. The one thing that I would like to say, which I really think nobody in this room would agree with me about, is that if we are going to have any buildings, any new buildings of a lot of houses, that should be for low-income people, for immigrants, for people that don't already have housing, where we can do our bit. We don't need 24 more houses for high-income people. I realize it's very vulnerable since I'm a high-income person living up there on the mountain. We need to think about projects that will help immigrants and low-income people in our community, from other communities to come here. Thank you.
Okay, going once. Sir.
My name's Phil Weiss. I live on East Mountain Road South. I'd like to hear the rest of this gentleman, Dan's statement. He had a prepared statement, and he was cut off because of the time. I found it very interesting what he was saying. I hope you can extend his time and allow him to finish his statement.
You know, we've had time limits. Dan can submit his letter, we can read it. That's fine. I think we've all been very judicious on time allocation. So anyone else who want to speak? Anyone else? Going once? Ma'am, please come up.
Good evening, everyone, and I echo what everyone said and thank everyone here for all you do for us. My name is Victoria Armas. I've lived on Appaloosa Way near the top of East Mountain North for about 10 years. This is the first, I saw signs posted on East Mountain Road North about this project. It's the first I hear of it. I heard comments many years ago, but I'm really surprised that it is still existing. My question, and again, I haven't been at these hearings. It's the first I'm hearing of it. Very little information online. I tried to educate myself, very little. This area is really steep. Has there been a topographical study done on this area and the houses that are going to be put there? I live at the top. The town has a really hard time plowing. I had 30 inches of snow on my property. I have a 630-foot driveway. The town couldn't get up during the last snowstorm, up to East Mountain Road at the top. How are these people going to manage in this steep area with these houses? What are they going to look like? I care about what they look like. My son designed my home. I love it. I love it up there. I live on four acres. It's beautiful. How are we going to fool with that? I can't believe it. I was a public servant for all my life, working in New York City public schools. I founded a New York City public school. I cannot believe we're to this after all these years with this project.
Please.
Have we thought, again,
Guys,
we done a topographical study about how steep this is? How people are going to get in and out? How they're going to get the roads plowed? How the town is going to get up there to do that? I think you need to think carefully, very carefully, because you're impacting an area that's so gorgeous. They want to put a trail here to call for more people to alleviate some of 9D. You know, that's another can of worms, but I think you really need to consider what's being said here because it is overwhelming what people are saying. The runoff is a big deal, I don't know if you ride down Route 9 towards Fishkill, but the water coming down after a rain has been worked on several times. I don't think you're making a smart move to approve this. I really don't. And I just wanted to make sure that you heard that. I don't know what was been sent out. I received nothing. I did see a petition. That was the only thing I could find online, was a petition signed by all the people that live up there. Everyone, practically, except for me. I didn't even know it existed. So I urge you to please use your conscience here, because that's what's required, I think. And I'm thinking about the people who are going to buy these homes. Has a topographical study been done? Have you been up there? It's really steep. And these houses are going to be perched on what? My house is pinned to a rock up there. Okay? Thank you.
All right, we have another public hearing we have to get to. So does anyone else want to speak? Ma'am, please.
My name's Cynthia Kling, East Mountain Road South. I just want to say that you have to think really hard about allowing a guy who is developing McMansions to manipulate a conservation easement. This will absolutely rebound through all of Philipstown. It's a very, very dangerous precedent. Thank you.
All right, going once, going twice. All right, motion to close the public hearing. Second, any comments? All in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, abstention. Okay, public hearing's closed. So, look, I'm going to suggest that, Aaron, what we do going forward is just consolidate all the comments from the last two hearings. Let's get a consolidated list together. Let's review it in the interim, and then we can discuss and share with the applicant, and then just go through each of the items one by one to see where we stand, just so we have a clear answer for the public as to what each of those areas are in whatever direction they go. So let's just start with a recitation and digestion of what the issues that have been raised, okay? Good, and we'll just look at that in our next hearing. Okay, any other comments, board members? Okay, thank you very much. For those who would like to leave now, and you can stay if you want, but we're going to move to the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival public hearing. Yeah, we're not going to be able to. If you wouldn't mind just heading outside for those who are. I don't know. Even after years.
So let's see what we got.
Feels like you're pushing against a wall that won't move. That's, I think, the feeling. That's how I perceive it. Pushing against a wall. You know, when you're very impassioned.
Hey, Steve, I'm going to have you just remind the audience what we're doing tonight. Like, what is it? Okay. All right, folks, is everyone here? Glenn, could you take down that their picture? Glenn, we're moving on to your other client.
I don't know how accurate.
Oh, that's it? Oh, wow.
Maybe people can sign it, I don't know.
Okay. All right, we're switching over to the Shakespeare Festival
hearing. Is everyone sure they're here for that meeting? Yeah? Okay. All right, we're going to discuss the draft environmental impact statement hearing tonight. I'd like to our attorney, just remind the audience what we're actually here to talk about for the public, what you're here to opine on, Steve.
Sure. This project requires a number of different approvals. One of the approvals will be a zoning change before the town board. And if you feel that the project is not a good project, the town board is the board to address your comments to. If you feel that there are certain aspects of this project that you'd like to be done differently, there will be a subsequent public hearing before this board to discuss the actual site plan and subdivision. This hearing is neither of those two. This is a hearing specifically directed to environmental impacts. So if you have a concern, whether it's lighting, or it's noise, or it's drainage, or it's traffic, this is the time to stand up and say, I have a concern about, and it could be placement of the tent for visual impacts, it can be traffic as far as the roadways, whatever it is, but this is the time to focus on those comments, because those are the comments that will make a difference with this board as it reviews the environmental impact statement. Again, not whether you like Shakespeare or don't like Shakespeare, not whether you think this is not the appropriate site for this project, not if you have some particular thing you'd like to see moved around as far as this goes. I'm concerned that, the paths should be here or there. Environmental impacts, that's what we're here to discuss. And so, of course, you're a public, you can make whatever comments you want, but those are the relevant comments. That's what the board's looking for tonight.
Okay, Yeah, sure, Aaron. So just state who you are. I'm not sure they all.
Sorry, sure. I'm Aaron Werner. I'm from AKRF. I've been consultant to the planning board on this project. We're reviewing the EIS for the board. We have several technical staff that review traffic studies and water studies, everything else associated with this. And I'm a planner. I'm familiar with the seeker process. So this is the draft environmental impact statement. At the April meeting, the board, through its consultants, deemed the draft EIS to be complete in accordance with the scoping document, which was adopted last fall after numerous rounds of review on that. So they set a hearing for tonight, which is to take comments on that complete document that was issued and circulated to the public, circulated to the interested and involved agencies involved in the review of the project and other actions being taken. So really the comments should be limited to the content of that document, questions, concerns on methodology, on results of studies. Everything was scoped already for this document.
Sorry.
The board deemed the document to be complete to that scope. However, substantive review is underway. AKRF is providing substantive review comments most likely by the end of next week. The comment period is open until May 30th. It's not over tonight. So if you have anything, public's encouraged to write letters until May 30th. The board can also provide your comments by May 30th. So I think how it'll go is after that comment period is up and we've received comments tonight, we've received comments in writing by that deadline of May 30th, we can compile all those comments. There is a stenographer here that's going to be doing a transcript of everything said tonight. There's a video, and there's also been written letters sent in directly to the board for those that can't make it tonight. So what I think will happen next is between that comment period ending and the June meeting, we'll compile everything. We can discuss the comments at the June meeting and officially release those to the applicant to begin working on the final environmental impact statement, or also known as the FEIS, which is used as the vehicle to respond to all the substantive comments raised. So I think that covers it.
Adam, you want to talk?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board and staff. My name is Adam Stellaro. I'm an environmental attorney for the project. And I thought, because we are opening the public hearing tonight, that I would spend a few minutes sharing the overall plan that the Shakespeare Festival is proposing, and that is the subject of the draft environmental impact statement that's being reviewed by the public now and by the board. The property is located at 2015 Route 9, on the west side of Route 9, between Phillips Brook Road and Snake Hill Road in Garrison. For many years, this property operated as the Garrison Golf Club, or simply the Garrison. The golf course ceased operations at the end of 2021, and the owner of the property decided to split up the 200-acre property into 3 uses. A 97-acre lot that will be developed by the Shakespeare Festival as a new home for the theater, 73 acres that will go into permanent conservation and to be held by the Hudson Highlands Land Trust, and a 27-acre private residential lot that will be retained by the owner. There are existing active uses of the property, even though the golf course is closed, and those include a 232-seat banquet hall, a 72-seat restaurant and 25-seat bar, an 8-room inn, and office space associated with the Garrison. In terms of the project that's being proposed, the main feature of the proposed project is a beautiful new 500-seat open-air theater that you can see in this picture here, that will be the permanent home for HVSF and allow for the festival's future growth and sustainability. For those of you who aren't familiar with the festival, I'm assuming most of you are, but just in case, it was founded in 1987. It's a critically acclaimed professional nonprofit theater company based right here in Philipstown. They performed at Boscobel for 33 years. HVSF reaches a wide audience performing plays by Shakespeare and contemporary playwrights. HVSF has been operating in a temporary tent for the last season at the Garrison and will continue this year. Running the program at the Garrison has allowed us to study some of the potential project impacts like traffic, noise, and wildlife impacts in real time, and you'll see those analyses in the DEIS. As an open-air theater program, the festival's performance season will be from the end of May through mid-October, with typically 7 weekly performances, none on Tuesdays and 2 on Saturdays. On a regular performance evening, visitors will continue to be welcome on the grounds for approximately 2 hours preceding a performance if they want to picnic, eat at the restaurant, or just enjoy the space. We anticipate that the restaurant will be open 6 nights per week when the theater is operational, as well as for lunch on weekends, and the banquet hall schedule will operate as it has historically, with most events on weekend evenings, and it's estimated that 125 to 150 events will be held in the banquet hall each year, just as it is today. And the banquet hall, as part of the proposed project, would be reduced from 232 seats to 200 seats. Construction of the project is going to be phased. Phase 1, which will last approximately 18 months, is expected to include the installation of the new theater cluster, which includes the back of the house, concessions, restrooms, the new parking lot, proposed walkways, and service road. And the phase 1 would probably also include the intersection improvements at the access driveways and the new traffic signal on Route 9 and Snake Hill Road. Future phases are expected to occur 5 to 15 years after phase 1, and those would include artist and guest lodging, an open-air pavilion, rehearsal and administrative space, a welcome center and welcome garden, additional parking, and rerouting of the site's interior road and walking paths. Construction of the new single-family home is also considered a future separate phase. As was mentioned, this project requires site plan approval, subdivision, and a special permit from the planning board. And in addition to the improvements, the physical improvements that are part of the project has to apply for a zoning change from the town board to amend the underlying zoning, which is rural conservation and planned development district. There have been some changes to the project since the positive declaration was issued last summer. For those of you who've been following this closely, you already know this, but the main 2 changes are that the project design, the visual design of the project changed from a big white tent-like structure to what you see here, which is a timber-framed roof that curves around and echoes the landscape around the theater. And 3 sides of the theater will be vegetated year-round for screening. The new design would also be the first purpose-built theater in the country to achieve a LEED Platinum designation. The new design also eliminated the proposed 2-way access driveway that was proposed for the Snake Hill Road entrance and the span bridge that was going to be part of that entrance. And that eliminates some of the concerns related to the potential wetland area around that entrance. And so that entrance at Snake Hill Road is the existing entrance. It's the one that's been used for the past summer for many decades before that as an ingress-egress one-way entrance. So in terms of the secret procedure, there was a lengthy environmental assessment process for this project that concluded in 2022 with a positive declaration. There was a scoping process that the board went through and that was open for public hearing, where members of the public had an opportunity to weigh in on the issues that should be included in the draft environmental impact statement. And the board selected 7 issue areas for further study. And these are the areas that are in the DEIS for comment. Those are vegetation and wildlife, wetlands and watercourses, water, sewer, and energy utilities, traffic, transportation, and parking, visual resources and community character, noise, and human health. We prepared a DEIS that was submitted earlier this year and was accepted as complete at the April 20th Planning Board meeting. So with that, we're looking forward to hearing from the public tonight, both in comments tonight and in written comments that we will take very seriously and respond to in the final EIS. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Cheryl, why don't you read the public notice?
The Planning Board of the Town of Philipstown, New York will hold a public hearing regarding the draft environmental impact statement, DEIS, of the below described project on Thursday, May 18th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. at the Philipstown Town Hall, 238 Main Street, Cold Spring, to consider the following application. Garrison Golf Club, PDD/Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival, 2015 Route 9, Garrison, New York, 10524, tax map number 60-1-59.2 and 59.3. Garrison Properties LLC and HVSF, the applicant, are requesting amendments to the Town of Philipstown Garrison Golf Club Plan Development District, established 2005, and Rural Conservation District to allow the relocation of HVSF from the Bosqueville House and Gardens, also in Philipstown, to the Garrison Golf Club. In addition to approval of the proposed amendments to the GGC, PDD, and RC districts from the Philipstown Town Board, the proposed action also requires site plan, subdivision, and special use permit approval from the Philipstown Planning Board and freshwater wetland permit approval from the Philipstown Conservation Board. Dated at Philipstown, New York, this 20th day of April, 2023, Neil Zuckerman, Chair.
Okay, we only have 3 people signed up, Cynthia, Howie, and Madeline. So does anyone else want to speak, or just the 3 of them? Okay, 4, that's it? Okay, well, we'll be a little more loose on the time limit. I don't think we have a terrible rush. So Cynthia first and Howie next. Cynthia here? Okay, Howard, why don't you take you have the pole position. What?
Good evening, Board.
Good evening, Howard.
There's limited comments that I'm going to make tonight, and with the anticipation that I'll be submitting more extensive written comments, given the 3 minutes that we have.
Take what you need. I mean, we don't have a huge rush tonight.
Yeah,
so
no, that's fine. First is traffic, and really this is derived from personal experience, recent, that I had. The inability to get out of Coleman, which is across from the anticipated entrance to the festival, where I tried to get out and cross Route 9 to get onto the Hudson Valley Shakespeare property on a recent Saturday when the farmers market was relocated in conjunction with a community event. And it was harrowing. As I was trying to get out, the traffic was going back and forth, waiting, and then cars were going to come out of the Hudson Valley Shakespeare location where the farmers market was. And the crash almost happened, didn't. But I just raised this issue that is the location that we're most concerned about, that is the ability to get out of Coleman, and that I know there are proposals to put in lanes, but this is something that I don't have full comments here right now for that, but just the reality that as it exists now, it is a difficult exit. With regard to the traffic assessment, the EIS determined that parking was sufficient for the main campus for the proposed Hudson Valley Shakespeare use. However, there's apparently an additional at least 100, maybe 130 spots that are proposed along Snake Hill, along or near the former maintenance area, that appear to be superfluous and unnecessary. It goes beyond the assessed environmental and traffic impact for the vehicle base on the proposed Hudson Valley use, so that the EIS, where it concludes that the parking in the main campus is adequate, so there should be no reasonable need for this additional parking. The EIS in the traffic study is not approvable, or should not be approvable, with the additional cars that are possibly going to be using this additional parking. It's unclear what that's for, and therefore we're proposing that the additional parking be eliminated or severely restricted. The next comment relates to noise. There's a significant concern about the amplification of events. I know Hudson Valley Shakespeare promises not to amplify or severely limit the amplification. There should be a restriction and enforceable limitation on any approval in that regard. Music, I think we've heard and understand that has been historically heard in the past, well past the borders of the property, when music events were held at the golf course. So the reality is that the geology and bedrock bounces the sound and goes well into the neighborhood, so that the amplification is a significant issue. Lastly, I'm just going to mention, I'm still assessing the EIS with regard to water use and water recharge, and I do intend to submit written comments assessing the methodology that was used by the Hudson Valley Shakespeare consultant to investigate the water, its availability and impact, as well as regulatory and statutory limitations, perhaps some you've never heard before. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madeline Ray, and then Marcy, you can go after her.
Hi, my name's Madeline Ray. I live in Garrison. Thank you for giving us this time to talk about the Shakespeare Festival. I'll just read what I have to say. What I'll share with you is that the Garrison Golf Club view shed is protected, and that the planning board must reject the proposed permanent man-made structure along the ridgeline, the most visible location. The comprehensive plan, as you all know, is adopted by the town as a guide for future actions of Philipstown. It includes the Open Space Index and the Natural Resources Protection Plan. In the 2006 comprehensive plan, the view of the Garrison Golf Club is specifically listed as an area, quote, that warrants special treatment. The clause further states that the Hudson Highlands are renowned for their breathtaking views and that care must be given to make sure that future development does not destroy them. In the current comprehensive plan, the Garrison Golf Club is designated as a, quote, environmentally sensitive area. It is to be protected. It is strategy number 5 under goal 5, protect our natural resources. It states that the town's natural resources are its green infrastructure and water sources contributing to public health, habitat, recreation, and community character. The golf club tops the list of areas that require, quote, ongoing protection. As called for in the 2006 Comprehensive Plan, the town adopted a Natural Resource Protection Plan. In the NRPP, under the section Community Character at Risk, the Garrison Golf Club view is a, quote, significant viewshed that requires attention in the planning process. In 2016, the Open Space Index updated its inventory, and the Garrison Golf Club remained on the list. The Open Space Index, together with the NRPP and the new comprehensive plan, the Planning Board is in a strong position to protect the golf club viewshed and reject the building of a permanent man-made structure at the ridgeline, the most visible location. The developers have dozens of acres to build a permanent structure and stage. The breathtaking and awe-inspiring views launched an artist movement nearly 200 years ago. It should remain untouched and unobstructed. The view should be celebrated as a park to play, picnic, and paint. When the sun goes down, the theater goers can meander their way to the stage. Visitors can come for the view and stay for the play. What I have shown you is that the viewshed of the Garrison Golf Club is a protected natural resource. The impact from a permanent man-made structure at the most visible point, the ridgeline, will jeopardize our scenic significance and set a precedent that other protected areas in Philipstown are open for development. You, the Planning Board, have an obligation to protect the Garrison Golf Club viewshed. It is within your rights to reject the proposed permanent man-made structure on the ridgeline of a protected viewshed. Thank you.
Thank you. Marcy? Does anyone else want to go after Marcy? Okay, you okay, fine. We'll go. What's your name, sir? Sam. Sam, and then ma'am? Kathy? All right, so Sam and then Kathy. Marcy, go ahead.
And I'll only keep it to the environmental impact ones. But I do have a couple quick questions that relate to that. Do we know, or is it somewhere, because I know that is a big document, and thank you to all of you guys that have read through that whole those long documents. Thank you for evaluating all of them. Do we know how many people attended the performances last summer so that we can understand better the impact? If that's available somewhere, that would be great. I couldn't find it. Just commenting on what you just said, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. But I don't understand why it has to be a permanent structure. I understand that it's the space, but if for 33 years the portable or the removable tent worked, you know, why change it if it's been working? If it's not broke, don't fix it. And then the other one, I did have a comment too on what Howie said, which was, I think it was Earth Day or the community event that we just had? We live on Coleman, and trying to get out of Coleman was really difficult. So the question that I have that can also help us understand from an environmental impact perspective is, do we know how many people attended that event so that we can have an understanding how that relates to the number of people that would be coming in and out during the Shakespeare, just because that was not easy for us to do. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you very much. Sam?
I just want to express my gratitude to the board. Chair Zuckerman, thank you. So Howie brought it up, and it's funny because I didn't realize that he would bring it up here, but the same exact thing happened to me. I'm trying to leave Coleman Road. Pylons, police couldn't get out of Coleman Road. So the issue is also that based on the studies that they said, this would never happen, and yet it did. So my issue is about remediation. You know, you can publish a study that was taken at whatever time it was taken at, and say that that is not going to be an issue, but my experience is it was an issue. So I don't know whether counsel for HVSF can actually address remediation issues. Is it stipulated there will be remediation? If there's a problem, is there a solution that's contractual? Those are my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, Kathy, and ma'am, your name? Susan. Susan, okay, so Kathy and then Susan.
Hi, Kathy DeSalvo. Thank you for letting us speak. I own the property that abuts the Garrison Golf Club from the main entrance to Snake Hill Road. And while I'm not totally object to the entire project, I do have a couple of concerns, specifically the traffic and the traffic light. I'm not quite sure how we can anticipate what kind of traffic will be there, will be present on Route 9 in front of my home, not only during the festival right now, which might be minimal, but in the future when this project is at full-blown capacity. My property is zoned commercial residential. It operates as a business also with trucks coming in and out. I'd like to know how it could be possibly mitigated that when they stop at the traffic light, which is 0.1 miles from my home, how we will get in and out of this property. Let alone the noise level. The noise has been addressed a lot from, I've heard comments prior meetings, that the noise level is coming, what kind of noise mitigation coming from the festival itself. I'd like to know what kind of studies, or if maybe they're already in the EIS, the draft EIS on the studies of noise on Route 9 with the traffic that will be stopped on 9 with trucks. That is the major truck route from Dutchess County to Westchester. And also the motorcycles, when they all stop at the light and then all start to rev up again. Yes, I do live on Route 9, and yes, I've heard them, and I've gotten used to it. I've been there 35 years. But having had my own trucks in my own yard, I know what it sounds like, and I had to, when I got my site plan approval, do noise studies. I had a lot of more studies to do on my little piece of property than this one. And the traffic is a big concern for me, especially what I just heard tonight with more and more development going on north on Route 9 coming down. And if Dutchess County, the old Dutchess Mall is going to be transported into a trucking facility, that'll bring more trucks down Route 9, which again is the main truck route between Dutchess. There is no other way trucks can get into Westchester County without going down 84 and all the way over to 684. They come down Route 9. There is no question that's not changing. And so, and then the lastly is the water. A few years back, maybe it's more than a few years, time's flying, the Garrison Golf Club put some additional wells in, and at that time, the well at Bill's Deli, if anybody would recall that, at the corner of Snake Hill Road and Route 9, went dry, forcing them to be out of business. My well also had a direct main hit. They had to come and drill down to 400 feet. I don't know how we're doing water studies with a project that, again, is not at full capacity. I did get a letter saying they wanted to monitor the well, and I kind of scratched my head and said, how are they monitoring a well with nothing going on? What good is this? I'm not an engineer. I'm not a water expert. I'm not an attorney for the environment. But I am expressing my concerns, and I am not totally against the project. I mean, the property has to be used for something. But I am concerned about the impact. It's not just mine. I mean, there's properties around me. Now, you probably remember, too, not too long ago, they changed the zoning down in Garrison. And many of the commercial properties in Garrison were changed to not be able to use the uses that it used to be in a B2 and B4 zoning because it didn't fit the character of the little hamlet of Garrison. My property being one. But we're looking at this massive project that's going to need a special use permit that won't even have to go in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I'm just expressing these concerns. I'm sure I'll read the draft EIS, which I have not had a chance to do. I've not been involved in town politics for a very, very long time. I might have to get back in. And I don't want to. No.
No? Okay.
No, I
All
thank
right.
you for your work.
One
but-
vote no. All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, Susan, and then anyone else want to speak? I will leave it with you then, Susan.
Yeah.
I guess you'll talk about Coleman Road?
No, not about Coleman
Okay,
Road.
all right.
Not named after me.
I know.
Just concerned about the water, and I will admit I feel like I'm unprepared, haven't done my homework. It's hard to keep up with all this. You know, it's been going on for a long time. But I'm in the water replenishment area, or whatever. It sounds very nerve-wracking, whatever the phrase is. And I don't know how this is going to affect. I think everything that, whenever I talk to people, I understand that aquifers are very mysterious things. So I don't know what this is going to do to my well water, what happens if we run out of water? What are our recourses? I mean, obviously we're relying on you, the planning board, to have our interests here, because if suddenly we don't have water, our property values, we can't live there anymore. And so I just don't have any way of evaluating this. My other concern, I think, has to do with the site plan, and I don't think this is the time to talk about the site plan. So, okay.
Okay, anyone else going once? Oh, Bob, please. Wow. First of all, are you going to recruit her to run for office, the British woman?
First, yeah, my name is Bob Flaherty, but I'm on the town board, but I'm speaking as a private citizen here tonight. I've been at every one of these meetings for the last several years. My concern is about the red light that's being proposed at Snake Hill Road in Route 9. And I'm also an emergency responder. I'm a volunteer fireman in North Highlands. As they put the new red light that on Route 9 in by the golf station, the amount of accidents increased tremendously. And my concern is the same thing at this red light. My recollection is this red light was proposed only that we're going to build the indoor theater after the fact that the red light was in the hotel. And both those are off the table now. So my concern is, do we really need a red light? And maybe they can just change to a blinking light, a hazard light, instead of a red light. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Okay, going once. I saw you sneak in. Yeah. Name and...
Stephen Wallace. Hello. Garrison, New York. Last summer, there was a performance going on at the Shakespeare Festival, and we could hear it really loud and clear. I could hear it from our deck and everything, and it was louder than the crickets. And I live here. We live here for the nature and for the quiet. And when Route 9 kind of dies down, because we're close to Route 9, and the noise from Route 9, from 7 to about 10 o'clock, we're going to be possibly hearing the Shakespeare Festival, and we're really close in proximity, probably more close than most people here in the room and around. And so that's one issue for me is noise, and I don't know how. There's been no one on our property to hear what we're hearing. We also I wrote to the board about this. We also had a couple of times where I guess maybe it was around 12:30 at night, where I think people maybe were in the parking lot, I don't know, but we could hear people laughing and talking right with our door, through our screen door, clearly. And I think maybe it's because our house is high up, and the other part of other side of Philipsbrook is also high up, and we had a clear sound coming in from it. And I don't have the ability to go run over to the onto neighboring property and start saying, "Can you please be quiet?" And I don't know how it will be regulated, but I think it needs to be. And I'm also concerned about the 6 times 2 bedroom artist residence. They want to make them, I think it was 1,200 feet or something each, for 7,200 square feet. and they want to make like a kind of an oval green, and you're going to have 6 different places. Now, our zoning should be RC, which is 10-acre zoning. And so we're going to have also a cluster of houses right across from where my house is. And I've said this before, that, you know, the people that will be staying there have no skin in the game. And so, you know, you're going to have artists or actors coming, and you can't tell them to be quiet, but maybe they're going to go have a drink at the bar after the performance, and they're going to be talking loud, and I'm going to get it directly in my window. And it's not like where, if we had actually 10-acre zoning, or a house of 5, whatever it is, like, I would maybe know the person across the way and say, Joe, can you keep it quiet or something? This is going to be people that have, kind of, I've said it before, no skin in the game. And so I don't know how we're going to be able to manage that, but the Shakespeare Festival says they want to be, you know, sustainable and very resourceful, but having 6 separate houses that's the least, that's the most wasteful, instead of putting it, you know, like having the water stacked and everything, and it's much more efficient than having 6 separate small houses. And, you know, that's not in the character of Garrison. And I think that's a very important thing that I'm saying, that, you know, Garrison's it's a hamlet, it's not really very commercial, that's why most people live there. And so I would just want to mention that. And then there was one thing that I had read. I only got to page 60 of the 160 pages to read, and there was one thing I was concerned about, which was kind of the future use of Lot 2, and it was where the use of Lot 2 will be. Can I read it? It's okay, just for a minute, because I think it's important. The use of Lot 2 will be limited by recorded conservation declaration to uses customarily related to the arts, culture, entertainment business, including performing arts, visual arts, spoken or written word, media and electronic arts, theater, dance, music, film, and other genre of arts, cultural performance, and entertainment. This also includes ancillary activities, including but not limited to educational activities relating to arts, culture, entertainment, rehearsal spaces, recording and film studios, scenery and prop shops, storage, service areas, concessions, picnic spaces, assembly space, galleries, and the like, commercial services. I mean, the list keeps going, including gift stores and food and beverage. I'm okay with. I really have enjoyed having the Shakespeare Festival and going to their performances. I'm not against the Shakespeare Festival, and, you know, it's clear. But this is like Shakespeare on steroids. And, like, it's huge. And I think it's kind of overwhelming for our residential zone where we live. And there was somewhere in this, like I said, I made it about 60 pages. There was some comparison to Marist College and somewhere else, I can't remember what it was. But those are all destinations that are commercial. And the people that live around the Garrison Golf Club are not here commercially. We are in a residential zone. And just finally, one more thing I'm going to say, because I know it's, you know, late and everything. But I am also concerned about the water. We had fires in April locally. My trees, a lot of my arborvitae have dried out last year and this year. I don't know what's happening, let's just say. But I am concerned of what happens. And so the issue I want to say and bring up, which is important, and I want you all to think about this and to understand where I'm coming from. Like, I have to hope that things go well in what y'all are doing, and I just want to say I really appreciate all the hard work. But what happens if the wells go dry or there are noise problems that, you know, happen? And what are we going to do? What am I going to do if my well goes dry? And that's the concern. And like I said, I haven't gone to read most of this huge volume to know more about it, but I have concerns, and that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
anyone
you.
else? Okay, all right, please.
Madeline, thank you for your elegant speaking about the site. That's my main concern. Oh, sorry, Marilyn Young. I live just up half a mile from the golf course. That land is just so beautiful, and the view, and the gift is so large, and you guys have been so flexible and listened to the community, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the repurposing of the maintenance for the rehearsal. I mean, I think that's really smart. But if you could bring it down off the ridge, now I know technically it's not in that protected zone because I've been coming to meetings, but it's in the spirit of this community to save that site up there. And there's plenty of land to build the, you know, and the theater designer's brilliant. She could do something a little bit lower, maybe next to your offices, that would still have a view. And I don't understand because you're having to ask for a zoning variance, correct? To be able to put it on the hill. It's my understanding, because the zoning encourages clustering and protection of that kind of scenic. That's all.
Okay, thank you. All right, going once, going twice, please. All right, Randy, bring us home. Some fresh, some new.
Well, I don't know about that, but Randy Davis, and I agree with a lot of the things. I'm also happy about some of the evolution of the project. I think some really great stuff has come out of that, and the fact that we've slowed it down, I think, actually made it better in a lot of ways. But I am not quite understanding the traffic assessments and what is going to be done. So my question is specifically to get the answers, when the answers come, about the Route 9 traffic light proposals. I know that there is talk about the traffic light being put in at that jog in the road of Travis Corners, which is very difficult. I'm not so sure I'm actually a proponent of that. I think traffic lights can cause a lot of problems, which is probably why we don't have one at this point. But the next place where we would need the cars to stop and be directed in some kind of an organized fashion is the main entrance at Route 9. And again, to reiterate what happens coming out of Coleman, and it's only because we live in that section, we understand what it's like to come out onto Route 9 at any given time when traffic is coming from the north and the south. It is a very difficult spot. And with all the extra things that are coming to this area, whether it be a warehouse for trucks or an art gallery or a lumber store, traffic is just going to increase over the years. So that intersection is just going to have a lot more cars. So what are we really doing there? Are we putting in a turning lane? If there's a turning lane, how does a car stop without a traffic light? Is there a stop sign in the middle of the road? Is there a blinking light in the middle of the road? Does that happen after there's already a blinking light or a traffic light just down the road at Travis Corners? Are there 2 traffic lights being proposed? I mean, I just explained this story recently where I was coming north on Route 9, and I think we all know that merge that happens before Travis Corners. It's horrifying. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I just look in that rearview mirror, and whoever comes out of anywhere, I just let them go. I just let them go because I know what's going to happen. They're going to beat me to just get one car ahead because Route 9 is one lane the rest of the way. Well, what happens if there's a traffic light there? That car is just going to be flying, and now they have to stop. But what happens now when they want to turn to go to the campus that is the Shakespeare Festival after they've already stopped and started? So I think everybody understands that it's a precarious situation. I don't know what the answers are. I'm hoping the traffic experts are really assessing it for what it is and what it's going to be. And that was my point, is that it's not just as it exists now, but as things happen in this area, we really need a very thorough understanding of the danger. It is really dangerous. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. All right, last call. Once, twice. Okay, motion to close the public hearing. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Dennis. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, public speakers. Similar to, you have the written comments still to come in for how many more days?
Right, so the comment period's remaining open until May 30th. You're encouraged to submit those directly to Cheryl and in writing. And then following receipt of those, we have a transcript that'll be coming from tonight's meeting. Those all be compiled, and officially at the June meeting, I think the action item would be for you to officially direct the applicant to begin responding to those for the FEIS.
Great.
Just one note on timing, though. The seeker regulations do say that the lead agency, in this case you, has 45 days from the close of the DEIS comment period, which would be May 30th. And that would bring us to July 14th, 45 days. To file its accepted FEIS, that can be extended based on number of comments to address and the applicant having to work through that. So it might make sense to come to an agreement to extend that period further out from July 14th because your meeting is on July 20th for July. So just one consideration there.
Yeah.
I mean,
do we need to worry about that now, Steve, or should we just worry about the?
No, it's nice to get it on the record. I think that's sufficient.
Just for your own.
Should we do 1 month extension? What should we do?
Well,
What
you
distance?
can extend it again if there's an issue.
Yeah, you can
We only have like 7
So
comments.
do we make a motion as a board, or we just ask the applicant to support that? What's the?
I think that the
Mutual
fact that
consent.
we've, asked and they've agreed is sufficient.
Yeah.
We
Fine.
don't need-
And
Good.
just for reference, HHR, they had their public hearing in like July 2019, and then the FEIS didn't come in for 2 years. And
Yeah.
there was mutual consent on that, so just. just
Davis, don't look at me like that. You gave me that Mr. Burns look. All right, that's a Shakespeare joke. All right, thank you. All right, so we'll, any new business? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Dennis. All right. You want to, second? All right, so adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good night.